Please welcome to the stage Damon Packwood, Executive Director of Oakland-based Gameheads, and Pulitzer Prize-winning MSNBC reporter Trymaine Lee.
Good morning, how y'all doing? Yeah, it seemed like an exciting morning so far, so thank you all for joining us. You could be a lot of places, but you're here with us, so thank you very much. Damon,
Yes.
it's a pleasure to be here with them, but it's a pleasure to be here with you, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. You showing me up with them kicks, but I'm good.
Well, you got the turtleneck. Turtleneck trumps everything. So I've had the pleasure of knowing you for a little more than a year, and since then I've been fascinated with your work with Gameheads. And for those who don't know what Gameheads is, break it down for us.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, we teach game design, development, DevOps, mixed media to low-income students of color ages 15 through 25. We're an Oakland-based nonprofit. We have a video game center in Oakland, California, but we serve students in 17 different states and working on expansions to Atlanta and Honolulu.
How did you arrive at Gameheads? I know you've had a winding road, but how did you get to the point where you created Gameheads?
Yeah, I mean, I used to have this saying as an educator, like, pay attention to what the students are doing when they're not doing what you told them to do, right? So it's like, you tell them to do something, you turn around, and you notice they're doing something else, and it's, what you would normally do is you scold them, but I'm like, well, why aren't we just using that to teach them? So my students play video games, or they was on TV watching video games, and I knew a little bit about games as a multimedia sort of medium, and I'm like, maybe there's something there to that.
Was there a aha moment? Was there a moment when everything kind of clicked?
Yeah, so what I did is I told the students, I said, look, man, if you do your work, make me look good, just do your work. I'll teach you guys about games during lunch. I thought they were gonna ignore me, but they didn't. So at lunchtime, they was like, all right, I did my work, teach me. I said, we'll do it tomorrow. So we did this again, right? They said, all right, I did my work, now teach me. I said, cool. So I taught them, and then they just kept wanting to learn. So finally, I was like, look, man, I actually have a job, so why don't you guys just build like a game or something? And they built a game about grief. And I'm just like, yo, where'd you guys get this idea from? And they're just like, we just made it up. So I said, why don't you guys submit this to a competition? So they said, cool. They submitted it to a competition, and they won. But it wasn't just any competition. It was the White House competition. So the Obama administration flew them out to D.C., gave them $1,000, free tickets to E3, and that was it. I said, yo, y'all want to keep doing this? They said, yeah. I said, cool, don't tell your parents. They told the parents.
They're gonna do what you told them not to do.
I said, okay, well, don't tell your friends. They told their friends. A year later, I had to quit my job.
Wow. That's amazing. Clap it up. We talk about their first project around grief. It makes me think about all the children that we describe as hard to reach.
Yep.
And sometimes we put the onus of their reachability on them, right? And so for you, I wonder what the secret sauce is in engaging with what someone's, say or describe as a hard to reach demographic.
Yep.
Positioning them to lift their voices in themselves.
I mean, my thing is, take everything that's complicated out. Like, you gotta remember how you felt when you was young, right? Like, all the complicated stuff, take it out. So we have a rule: if it's not cool, we don't do it. You know what I mean? If it's not fun, we don't do it. If it's not exciting, we don't do it. They get enough problems, right? And not only do they get problems, but also they get the world's problems because they're young, and we often put a lot of pressure or a lot of burden on their shoulders. So I'm like, here, we just gonna have fun, right? But you're tricking them, right? Because they're still learning. So my thing is, I always said when we had this big tech movement, everybody needs to code. I'm like, look, man, coding is based on math, right? And we don't perform very well in math, right? Like, that's just the way it is in Black and brown communities. But where do we perform well in? Well, we excel in the arts. So you translate the arts to tech, and you get art animation, right? You get, we excel in art animation. We excel at storytelling, poetry, writing. That's narrative design. We excel in organizing. That's project management. We excel in sound design or music production. That's sound design, right? All you need to do at that point is just to introduce new hardware, new software, different way to think about it, but they already have that sort of intrinsic knowledge about these different areas. You're not walking them in and saying, here, look at this coding language that you've never seen before. Now go out and be an engineer. Now you're gonna get, some people are going to, be engineers, but you don't have to leave the other ones behind.
When I hear you talk like that, it almost sounds really groundbreaking. Like you figured something else, figured something out. How come the industry should have arrived at this point 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Why is this still groundbreaking?
I mean, I don't know. The thing about the industry is they're just starting to realize that the demographics are shifting in the United States, right? So before, they used to think, well, all we got to do is just cater to sort of white and Asian men, right? Now what they're realizing is actually the largest demographic is women, right? And the demographics in the country are shifting. So we're becoming what they call like a minority majority country, but and I think we'll be minority majority in, like 2045? I always get my dates mixed up. But the tipping point differs by age, right? So for 18 and under, it already happened. And then for those that are like 30 something and under, it's gonna happen in 2027. Well, that's the gamer age. Like 35 and under is when they play the most games. So now the video game industry is realizing like, oh snap, the majority of gamers are actually gonna look like black and brown folks. The next billion players are gonna come from South America and Africa, but we only have like 7% Latinos, 2% African Americans, 22% women. Like, we're behind, you know what I mean? So now they're starting to get it.
And speaking of demographics and numbers, you also discovered some unique engagement numbers in terms of the communities that you're reaching in actual gaming.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen this with attachment to entertainment in general, right? Black and brown folks, actually play video games 30 minutes more per day than everybody else. They're more likely to have a console in their room. They're more likely to consider themselves a video game player. So this is something that they're already there, So it's like, I remember I used to have parents, when I first started doing education, parents would call me up and complain that, their kids were out in the streets. And I'm like, man, that's bad. And then after a while, they used to call me up a couple years later, and they'd be like, well, I can't get him off the computer. And I'm like, I don't think that's bad. I was like, yeah, all he does is spend time on the computer all day. And I'm like, well, how do we flip this? You know what I mean? If you on the computer all day, that means that, A, you're not in the streets. I can reach you, But the question is, how do we reach them? And I figured, well, if you're on the computer playing games, that's how I can reach you.
It's one thing to give them skills and you have this, organize these young people in a certain kind of way. How have you managed to connect them with the industry? Because it's not just them learning for learning's sake.
Yep.
There are opportunities here, financial opportunities.
Oh yeah. I used to hate growing up. I've worked at these nonprofits. Get the nonprofits where they take a picture of the kid with the camera and he's smiling, right? But you're not really teaching them anything. So when I created Gameheads, I'm like, nah, y'all learning, right? So what we want to do is our goals: graduate from high school, get into college, transition to college into the industry, right? Whether that's contract, internship, externship, full-time position. So, what I told people, I said, look, for the first couple of years, we're just gonna go dark. Like, we just gonna grind. We're not doing no field trips. It's just work. And then after about 3 or 4 years, you started seeing students getting to USC, NYU, Drexel here in Philadelphia, all the major UCs, Howard. And then after that, they started transitioning into the industry. So now we have students working on the games that you see on TV: Call of Duty, Spider-Man 2, Assassin's Creed, Subnautica, like a bunch of, all the major video game companies. And so the thing that was cool is that we actually ended up good with the video game developers, because the video game developers mentor our students, but our reputation spread throughout the industry, and now we work with all the major video game companies.
You're based in Oakland, and for anyone who's ever visited, Oakland has had its share of struggles, but also it's just like this well of culture and genius and brilliance. But it's right next to Silicon Valley. And it always shocked me there was no direct pipeline between Silicon Valley and the communities that we're talking about in Oakland. Is that gap, right, or the barrier between Silicon Valley and Oakland, is it for lack of education and skills on the part of the community, or lack of outreach and effort on the part of the industry in Silicon Valley?
I mean, it's kind of both, you know, because it is wild. You have San Francisco on one end, right, tech capital of the world, and then you have Silicon Valley on the other end, tech capital of the world, and then you got the East Bay right in the middle, Oakland, Vallejo, Alameda, Hayward, right, all of that. And it's crazy to like, you drive in, 45 minutes, an hour in every direction, and you see every company that's on your phone, right? And it's just bananas to see it, you know what I mean? I'll be like, oh man, that's Facebook or that's Google, like, and then, that's PlayStation right there, you know what I mean? So the onus is definitely on the companies to reach out, which is something that, I mean, we had a block party the other day, I won't mention the company, but they were afraid to show up because they didn't have security. They wanted armed security at our event. Wow. And we told them, you can't have armed security around our kids. So they wouldn't show up. So yeah, there is an onus on companies. But also, and I tell people this, I said, yo, as educators, we gotta get better. We can't just say we too old to learn tech. No, we can. You know what I mean? Like the students wanna learn. They do wanna learn. Like they love learning. It's just that they need something that they can relate to. So I think, I always say when you have a complex problem, you have to come up with a solution to multiple problems, right? That's why it's complex. So in order to solve this problem, you need grassroots, you need church, you need community centers, you need parents, you need corporate, you need the high schools, you need K through 12 schools, and you need the universities.
So we're speaking specifically about gaming and the industry, but this is the Ideas We Should Steal Festival. Is there a universal idea, to your work that could be applied in what some folks in this room might be doing?
Yeah, one thing I always tell people is, yes, we teach game design and development, but that's not really what we teach. Technology industry is growing. We actually don't know where it's going, right? We don't really know, and it's not slowing down. So the question is, what skills are the students going to need in the future? And what we know is that they're going to need what they call a deeper learning pyramid, which is critical thinking, problem solving, having academic mindsets, learning how to learn, collaboration, right? So that's actually what we teach the students. Like it's all fake, right? I always tell people, it's like, yeah, we're teaching them game design and development, and we're teaching them hard skills, right? C#, C++, Jira, Photoshop, Illustrator, ZBrush, Substance Painter, all of that. But at the end of the day, you don't know if that software is going to be relevant in the future. But what you do know is that learning how to collaborate and communicate, critical thinking, problem solving, like all of that will be relevant. So what I always tell people is that if there's an idea that you want to steal, is figure out how to teach those skills in a way that they don't think that they're learning those skills, right?
Yeah. Now, while many of us...
How young do you start?
15 to 25. But then they turn 26 and they don't leave.
Well, we're talking about young people, and many of us have nice skin, and we feel young. Uh-huh. We're actually getting we're getting up here, right?
Yeah, we're getting up.
I don't want to say it like that, but some of us are getting seasoned. What have you learned about these young people? I mean, I think we can learn a lot from the young folks who are still growing, experiencing things. Some of us are set in their ways.
Yep.
What's a lesson? What's something, a key thing that you've learned from these young people in doing this work?
I mean, the reason why I continue to do the work is because I allow myself to be taught by them. I mean, the bottom line is that technology is so vast that a lot of people think I know everything as far as like what they learn, and they actually teach me a lot, right? Like, there's so much technology and there's so much that you can learn on YouTube and what have you. And we do have an element of our program where it's like, you gotta go teach yourself this. So the thing that has kind of kept me young is spending time around young folks that, are learning things about technology that I'm a little too old to learn, but also their enthusiasm. You know what I mean? Like, we're very, very aware of the world's problems. They're not. And so we tried to create an environment where we don't shove that in their face. And it's really nice to be in an environment where they're not really seeing the world's problems that much, and they can just be kids, right? They're still learning. they're still being responsible, right? They're still doing what they need to do. And when you get in that environment, it make you feel good, man. It make you feel real good.
Well, let's think about the flip side of that. I can't help but go back to the idea that they decided to do a project, a game on grief. That even though you created this safe space around them, they're still having to grapple with a lot of tough issues out in the real world when they go home, perhaps, when they're not in front of the computer or at Gameheads. What's the toughest part about trying to create an opportunity for young people who often are going through a lot?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've seen this with music and we've seen this with film. We create programs for young folks where they can draw and get stuff, and it's like art therapy. What we did is we said, well, let's do the same thing with games, but now you can express some challenges that you're going through and people actually have to play it. There's something deeper there. So we've had students that were like Korean and they were like, they couldn't communicate with their families. So they created a video game about a young person that has to like learn how to communicate with their families because their Korean is not that good, right? And then made their parents play it. And we watched their parents play that and like tear up. You know what I mean? We had students during the pandemic that they were like in school, but they had to stay at home. So they made a game called Confined in Dorms, which was about them having to live as a student in dorms. And you gotta play that. We had students that made a game about experiencing the Black Lives Matter protests, whereas like it was just a game about a kid going to the store to get a soda with the Black Lives Matter protests happening in the background. And they had to avoid all of the craziness, right? So you get to play that, you know what I mean? And there's something different when you have to like play it and then you gotta talk to them about it. So, you know, we see all these violent video games on TV and we see the kids playing them, we assume that that's kind of where their head is at. It's not. When you tell them to make a game, they don't really make that stuff. You know what I mean? They make games that are way, way more personal. And that's the thing that the industry just haven't figured out yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds like this is about more than just games.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What is it about to you in your heart? I mean, you broke it down a little bit. What is Gameheads really about?
I mean, I always tell people, it sounds like a cliche, but I just want my students to be happy. You know, like, you know, happiness is like, one, you learning. You know, the thing about games and the reason why they play it is because games are like feedback systems. It's a feedback loop. Whenever you do something, the game presents you with a challenge. As soon as you overcome that challenge, it gives you a feedback. You did something great, right? So the reason why you're playing it is the game is giving you feedback over and over again. It's telling you that you're good. Wow, you did that thing, you're good. You collected this thing, you're good. Everything is designed around giving you that feedback loop, which makes you happy. It's actually based on the theory of happiness by Mikhail, I forget his last name, but it's based on his theory. So what we do is we're like, yo, man, we want you to be happy. We want to validate you, right? Make sure you feel like this is your space. But then also you have an opportunity to learn, grow, and then go on and do something that you enjoy, right? Like I had students that worked on Spider-Man 2, and they're not even 25.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's like you get to walk around with that kind of swag. That's a lot of swag.
That's
you know what I mean?
That's a whole lot.
Right? So that's what it is for me, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many young people have gone through your program?
Right now we're about 200, 250. Actually, no. I mean, gone through about 500 have gone through. We're about 200 active. But like I said, they don't leave. You know what I mean?
Can't get rid of them.
I got students who are 30 years old. They're already working in the industry, and they're hybrid, so they can work from home. They don't work from home. They come to the office.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that part of the point, the cycle that those who've gone through can help some of the younger ones?
I mean, it wasn't the point. It's
You
a
guys
nice,
go. Now you got
it's
the
a nice
skills.
problem to have, but I was just like, yo, man, I'd like for you to get on going, man. But yeah, they believe in the community and they want to come back and contribute, and that's always a good thing.
So what's next for Gameheads? What innovation should we be looking out for? What's happening?
Man, we got a big announcement coming up in the next couple of days, but I can't really talk about it.
Listen, we're trusted, we're friends, we're family here. I'm your boy now. We can talk.
I mean, I think that the thing that we're excited about is we're planning on opening up a video game center in downtown Honolulu, working with Native Hawaiian youth, and then our extension out to Atlanta, which happens in 2024. at Georgia Tech. Those are two things that we're excited about. I still can't talk about that.
Yeah. Now, do you accept 45-year-old interns that just
Yeah,
play Madden and just kind of kick it a little bit?
Come through, man. Like.
Brother, I want to thank you so very much for your work. Thank you, Gameheads. And thank all of you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.